Hey, what's going on, guys? So I want to do this impromptu video real quick while it's still on my mind. Was able to get off work early today. But before I get to that, I first just want to start off by doing something that I haven't done in a while, and I realize I need to get back to doing that. And that is thank those of you who, the few of you who continue to support the Brian Too Bad TV Solange platform. You know that my crowdfunding for my personally produced content, those links are still available in the description box of every produced video that I made myself. I'm going to start putting them in the pinned post if you want to continue to support my content. You can do that. I special shout out to the person that just pledged $10 on Patreon about a week ago. I see you. As usual, I've just been so busy. I really haven't had a lot of time to, you know, acknowledge that there are still a few loyal, diehard supporters that I have there. I think at one point I had like 30 or so Patreons, and people were donating for the FS Avenger website several times a week. Now I think I'm down to like 9 Patreons, which is cool because, like I said, I'm not looking to be some big superstar on social media. To do that, I'd have to do what some of the likes of Kevin Samuels or Tommy does, which is basically feed you niggas candy when you actually need to eat vegetables psychologically. And I'm not a person that feeds, junk food. I'm gonna feed you what you need to hear, and if you don't like it, you can take a flying fuck. So, but no, seriously though, for me, I had totally, especially after the shutdown of FS Avenger and all the crowdfunding for that, I had totally forgot about, and I think a lot of people have forgotten about my personal crowdfunding links that I originally opened to let people show their support for my personal content, because well before FS Avenger, even back when it was called Black Avenger, I had crowdfunding links for my YouTube, and back all the way back when I was primarily on BitChute, and then later Brighteon and all of that. So yeah, thank the few of you who are still donating on PayPal, Patreon. Don't have Cash App anymore, but I do have Patreon, PayPal, Venmo, and I think that's it. So yeah, thanks. And if you want to continue to show your support, you can feel more than free to do so at the links which are at the bottom of this video in the description box and or the pinned post. Now, there are a couple of as I tell you guys and have been telling you for the last several years, I'm busy getting ready to make some major moves. I had to downsize recently, but so I don't have a whole bunch of time to make videos. Um, I have less and less time each year because I'm just getting busier and busier and just getting involved in more and more things. But there are 4 videos, not including this one in particular, that I am very interested in producing, along with a couple of community posts before we reach too far into the fall. I was hoping to get them all done by the end of summer, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Cause these are couple of these videos have to be heavily edited. So, yeah, be looking forward to that. I got at least 6 pieces of content that I want to get off before we get too far into the fall. So yeah. Anyway, so like I said, this video is impromptu. Just something that came up spur of the moment today. So earlier this year there was that controversy with Will Smith. He we got banned from the Oscars for like 10 years for slapping the shit out of Chris Rock for telling a joke about that whore of a wife he has, Jada Pinkett Smith. And ironically, at the same Academy Awards ceremony, he was also nominated and won Best Actor for King Richard, where he played Richard Williams, I believe his name is, who is the father of Venus and Serena Williams, the two famous manly looking tennis players that won multiple Wimbledon and Grand Slam championships. And so Will Smith played the main character in that movie, and he won Best Actor. Now, you know me. I've said on multiple occasions throughout the years that, you know, I have never thought much about the Williams sisters, as far as femininity, okay? I know there are some men that are into women that are built like big buck horses, or built like, defensive linebackers. They built like they look like they could whoop a grown man's ass, or at least hold their own in a fight. And I know a lot of black women are built like that, and there's some white women that are built like that. I've never been into those type of women that are, they're just too sturdy looking. And, some of them, like the Williams sisters, have manly faces, almost to me look like, transsexuals. But, again, this, and keep in mind, I'm not like what I could be, or what I used to be. This is not even me being funny. I'm just honestly saying, I've never been physically or sexually attracted to the Williams sisters, which, just as a side note, it behooved me as to why black men were so many black simps even were so upset when, I think it was Serena Williams married and got pregnant by some white boy that she later wound up marrying. I don't know, because I mean, I could see, like, if she looked like a Jezebel Vizier, that porno whore, who's fine. She's a nigga bedwench, but she's fine as hell. But like, neither one of them Williams sisters are fucking. They don't even look like women to me. But again, that's beside the point as far as, what this video is truly actually about. So, like I said, I never really thought much about the Williams sisters. I just knew that, like Tiger Woods, I never thought much about Tiger Woods, to be fair. Just a biracial motherfucker that never wanted to be black. It is what it is. But that's most niggas nowadays, subject for another video. So, I've never really done a video on the, well, no, I lied. I did a video on, I forget which Williams sister it was, but I released the main portion on BitChute, if I recall, a couple of years ago when she got beat by that half black, that what Chris Tucker called Blackanese chick, the little young ass chick that's like half Japanese, half black. I don't remember her name, don't care to, but she beat one of those Williams sisters. I forget whether it was at Wimbledon or whether it was at the U.S. Open. I don't know, because I don't know anything or keep up with professional tennis. But one of the Williams sisters, they started throwing a hissy fit at the referee, like they want to drag him off that little stand that they be on in the middle of the court and whoop his ass or something. And some newspaper made a cartoon, and it was fucking hilarious. And so that was the only video besides this one that I've actually done on the Williams sisters. Okay. But what prompted this, and keep in mind, this is kind of, sort of, but not quite a movie review. What prompted this was I finally got around to renting and watching the movie King Richard. Now, under normal circumstances, I don't care. But as I told y'all before, I'm a huge history buff. Anything history related, even topics of history that I'm not particularly interested in, like professional women's tennis, like if it's historical, like if it happened in the past and it's something that's been like a highlighted event or a highlighted career, highlighted life, I'll probably get around to at some point taking a peek at it. Okay. So I figured, last week was a slow week for me. I figured, what the fuck? I got, some more, some extra downtime at the office. All I do is work, come home, eat, browse the internet, and watch a huge DVD collection that I have. So I said, fuck it, rent this movie on Netflix and watch it. And I started watching it and I finished watching it. And to be honest with you, I wasn't impressed. And I'm not saying that because both of the Williams sisters are ugly to me. I'm not saying that because both of them are bedwenches. I'm just saying the movie itself that was portraying, how they rose to stardom, the work their father put in, it just didn't rub me. It didn't rub me the wrong way, but it didn't rub me the right way either. The only thing that I found interesting was that little girl that played Venus. I had that young black actress. I've seen her, I think, in Lovecraft Country. I think that was the last movie I seen her in. But she's a very talented young black actress, the one that played 14-year-old Venus in the movie. But other than that, I mean, one of the things that kind of aggravated me, well, even though I already know that Hollywood is political, is that Will Smith's performance in King Richard, the movie itself looked like it was directed by a black female. And I say that because it was poorly directed. Okay? The casting was pretty good. There were a lot of veteran actors in there, but it was poorly directed. It's just the cinematography was off. Everything was off. The music was off. Everything was off. Okay? And Will Smith did not deliver an Oscar-winning performance, in my opinion. Okay? I know opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them, right? Though funny, most people only say that when they disagree with your opinion. But I'm man enough to admit my opinion's like an asshole. Everyone has one, right? So I'm looking at this whole almost 2.5-hour movie. Watched it to the end of the end credits. I didn't see anything in this movie whatsoever that was Oscar worthy. I mean, this is like some shit that Disney, like Walt Disney, would put together back in the day. Like, y'all remember that movie Glory Road about the Texas Western Negro basketball players that became the first in history to win the NCAA tournament, I think in 1966 against number one ranked Kentucky, back when black professional athletes were still greatly frowned upon. It was something like that, like a decent movie, but not nothing that should be nominated for nothing. And I said this back when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the movie, the video that I did on that. I said that probably the only reason that he got that Best Actor award is because they want to not promote Will Smith. And this was before he slapped Chris Rock. They want to promote the idea of black simpery, A, and B, this myth of the strong, independent, black girl magic Afro-American female. Like they were trying to do, with the glorified loser Sha'Carri Richardson that everybody now can see as a fraud. Okay? That's the reason why he was nominated. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Will Smith is not my favorite black actor, but he's had some Oscar-worthy performances. Okay? He's had some Oscar-worthy performances. And even when he didn't have Oscar-worthy performances, there were movies that he was in that should have, them in and of themselves, should have been Oscar worthy, meaning they should have at least been nominated for Best Picture. Okay, this was by far not his best film, not even close. In my opinion. Okay, but that was the first thing that hit me about this film. The second thing that hit me was the story of Richard Williams. Okay. The father of Venus and Serena, and I believe Tunde Williams. Was that the Williams sister that was killed in a drive-by like years later or something like that? I know there were like 5 Williams girls. The only 2 became tennis stars, and one of them died in like a shooting in Compton or something, like years after they became famous or something like that. Well, anyway, in the movie, I don't know, because you know Hollywood has a way of over dramatizing things, but in the movie, okay, um, Will Smith's character, playing the real life Richard Williams, father of the Williams sisters, again, they were showing the hardships that he went through, working a third shift, graveyard shift security job, while at the same time trying to coach these girls, even though he wasn't a professional coach or a retired professional athlete, living in Compton, California, dealing with Pookie and Ray Ray harassing his daughters, and him trying to defend his daughters and getting beaten up, getting the crap beat out of him for it by the homeboys. And one time he got a gun put at his head and they almost killed him. And just so, him going to multiple different wealthy, well-known white coaches and ex-athletes and trying to get them to coach Venus and Serena, and they wouldn't do it because he didn't have no money. Um, and they just went through the whole, you know, row of everything that Richard Williams had to go through, not only to bring these girls up, to coach them, to train them, to find them the right professional coaching and training, but also to protect them. And the only thing that I really knew prior to this movie about Richard Williams was that he had David Carroll, before he passed away. I think one of his last videos he was talking about. Well, he actually, on frequent occasions over the years, he talked about how Richard Williams had protected his daughters, back when, they started to go into their 20s and they started winning at Wimbledon. I think they said Venus, she won 3 Wimbledon championships. And Serena Williams, she's won like 23 Grand Slam and U.S. Opens. Like, she's one of the greatest female athletes of all time. She's ranked as one of the greatest female athletes, not just in tennis, but of all time. And the paparazzi and the overall media, they start, and people on the internet, they started saying what I said, which is that these girls, they don't really look like girls. I mean, nothing against them in that sense. I mean, if you ugly, you are. I mean, can't everybody look like a beauty queen, right? But I'm just saying they're just not physically attractive to me. It is, and they're not physically attractive to a lot of people, but they're famous, so it's just like an ugly nigga with money. It is what it is. But when people started saying that they looked like they had a sex change, when those rumors started spreading on social media or whatever, I think that was before social media though. The father, he started protecting them by, speaking out against that. But the thing was, he was, the whole time, he was working multiple jobs, okay? He was providing for them and coaching them and trying to manage them and trying to find them the right endorsements and the right agents and the right sponsors, and protecting them from niggers, from venomous, lawyers and, talent scouts that just want to leech off people like that. I mean, from what I understand, and again, I know Hollywood probably dramatized the thing about him getting beat down. Maybe he did get beat down in real life. I don't know. But the fact is, Richard Williams went through a lot to protect his daughters and to control the rise of their career, to make sure that it was done right. The one thing that I think was true in the movie, when Nike first approached Venus at 14 years old, they offered her a $3 million contract. Now, 99.999% of people offered a $3 million contract that ain't never had no money in their fucking life. They would have signed that goddamn paper contract so damn quick, they would have had to get another paper copy, because that thing would have went up in fucking smoke from the friction of the damn ink fucking writing across that fucking paper. We all know that's true. I mean, can I get an amen? But at least in the movie, they were showing that Richard Williams and Venus, they refused the first contract that Nike gave. And longer story short, 9 months after she lost her first U.S. Open against some Spanish bitch that was champ back then, I think she won a few more big tournaments, and Nike they wound up signing her for a $12 million deal at 15 years old. So she got 4 times what they originally offered her. Okay. Now, granted, that's nothing compared to what I think LeBron James got when he was signed by Nike out of high school. I think they signed that fool to like $90 million. It was some crazy ass amount. What was that back in like 07, 06, 07? Somebody help me out with that. But I know it was like $90 million, and it was before he even went into the NBA. There was so much talk about LeBron, like they made him a multi-millionaire before he even went into the NBA. But for a female athlete that young, I think that was, and somebody also can correct me if I'm wrong, I think Venus Williams getting signed $12 million by Nike at 15 made her the youngest, wealthiest professional athlete probably in history, and definitely the youngest, wealthiest black female athlete in history. But the fact of the matter is, coming from Compton, California, South Central, whatever, that would have never happened without the mentoring and not only the mentoring, but mainly the protection of her father. Okay. Fending off the leeches, fending off, the sucker contracts, fending off the bloodthirsty lawyers and, agents and niggas that was trying to, on the street that was trying to turn his daughters into hoes. Now that's one thing I can say about the Williams sisters. Okay, they managed to escape the thought life at a time when thought life was on the rise back in the 90s. But again, that's all thanks in part to that's not a thanks in part. That's thanks primarily to their father. Okay, they did show the actress playing the mother. Richard Williams. He remarried, from what I understand. He had some children with another woman in Ohio or something like that, and they got mad when the movie came out called King Richard because they felt like he had abandoned them to start a new family with a new woman and left his first family. But again, the Williams sisters would never have been where they were. Okay, they wouldn't have been there if they had just a single mother, and they wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been for the sturdy stubbornness and direction of their father. Now, granted, in the movie, the character of their father did sometimes come off as like a egotistical asshole that he had a chip on his shoulder from things. He was describing all the racism that he went through when he was a kid. And so when his girls started getting noticed by, the wealthy white folks, and they wanted to sign him up for this or, talk, do interviews, he would always, go hard in the paint on these crackers because, he felt like, oh, now you recognize us. So in some cases early on, it did kind of seem like maybe he was being a little overly protective or overly authoritative. But at the end of the day, if the movie is being accurate, and that's questionable, it all worked out. So I said all of that to say this. David Carroll, he spoke frequently about how, black people just love white people. he talked frequently about how black women worship white men, right? Some of these females have tried to push back against this on social media. But and keep in mind, this is not just specific to the Williams sisters. I've seen this, you know, in my own personal life. I know grown black women now that, you know, they grew up in a all black family, went to an all black church, went to a mostly all black school in an all black community, but they grew up worshiping white men and whiteness. Okay? This is something, unfortunately, that is deeply seated in the psyche of the Afro-American Negro. Okay? And Venus and Serena Williams are just shining examples of that, but they are not the only example of this. Okay? When I watched the movie, it made me better appreciate what David Carroll was talking about when he spoke so illy of the hypocrisy of, you know, like how these black bitches used to always say, and some of them still do, when they see a black man with a white woman, your mama black, your mama black. Even though most of these niggas' mamas wasn't worth a shit. I mean, it's just, I mean, all you got to do is go on social media to see that. You don't need me to confirm that, okay? But, you know, they're so quick. I even had a bitch some fake pro-black bitch that I dated long ago that said that your mama black, right? Like that's supposed to automatically stop him. And even Tommy Sotomayor with his goofy ass, he countered that. He said, so I should only want to date and fuck women that look like my mother? That's just fucking stupid, right? But they will be quick. You know, it's just the emotional fucking turmoil that goes on in a damaged female's mind, right? It makes no logical sense, but she's going to say it anyway because she feels some type of way and she feels like you should feel some type of way. Logic doesn't even enter into the equation, right? So if you were a white woman, your mama black, right? And them bitches used to love to say this to black men, even though we now know, we may not have known 20 years ago, we may not have known 30 years ago, but we now know without a shadow of a doubt that the black bitch loves white men as much as the black man loves white women. Okay? Black people, and I don't really think this is my opinion, but you know, you could beg to differ. Black people are the only group of people on planet Earth that I have seen, okay, that collectively, actively, largely worship and deify the predecessors of those who enslaved and abused their ancestors. The tribe of people who enslaved and abused their ancestors. We're the only group. You don't see Jews worshiping and deifying Germans, okay? You don't see the Irish worshiping and deifying the English, okay? You don't see Indians worshiping and deifying the British. You don't see this strange relationship that, you know, is seen in Black America with how we view what people call interracial dating and marriage. You just don't see it, okay? Yes, people mix, races of individuals have always mixed, but, okay, we are the only group of people that are promoting this shit. And the white people and especially the white liberals that control media, they see this shit, the mental weakness and inferiority complex that Negroes have, and they work to capitalize on it, to keep us divided, to keep us confused, and to keep their numbers up, okay? So this is why the system, this is why I try to explain to niggas, okay? And I've tried to explain this for years. A lot of Negroes do not understand what white supremacy actually is. In fact, a lot of white people, including white people who are openly or even closet racists don't understand what white supremacy and white power is. Okay? White power is not a bunch of backwoods fucking Peckerwood Beverly Hill crackers, in some fucking swamp in the on the fucking off the butt road of some rural Mayberry town in fucking Kentucky or something, burning a cross in robes. A bunch of poor ass, fucking ignorant ass, illiterate ass, bucktooth ass, banjo playing ass crackers playing, we hate nigger songs all day while burning a cross in the middle of a Klan rally. That's not white supremacy. White supremacy isn't even Negroes hanging off trees because they got caught screwing some white woman. That's not white supremacy. No, that has never been white supremacy. White terrorism, maybe, yes, but not white supremacy. White supremacy is several things. Few obvious examples of this. White supremacy is every time you go to apply for a job, unless you run your own business, 9 times out of 10, the job that you're going to go to is going to be white owned, or it's going to have a parent company that is owned by a company that, even if they have a black or some other racist CEO, the majority of the shareholders are white. The people who founded the fucking parent company is white. Okay? White power, white supremacy is an overriding majority of who commands, the command structure of the government at not only the federal level, but the state and local level are white people, whether they're white liberals or whether they're white conservatives. Okay? An overriding majority of what I call the hired guns, the military, and the police at the state, local, and federal level are going to be white people. Okay? When you go and you look at media, okay, there are a couple of black directors and producers here and there, but the overriding majority of people who are starting these companies from social media, these tech giants like Facebook, Twitter, this asshole Elon Musk talking about he wants to buy Twitter, then changing his mind, all the way to ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, okay, whether they're liberal or conservative. They can be at each other's throat, but you can best believe those who control the networks through which our future generations and our current selves are being pumped full of propaganda and information, real or false, are white. Okay? When you purchase a plane ticket to do your, Dubai porta potty thing or your passport for pussy thing, okay? The people who own that airline, the person flying that plane, 9 times out of 10 is going to be white, okay? When you go to the gas pump, okay, the people who may own that specific gas station may be Indian or Arab, but the people who own the rights to that brand name that's slapped on the side of that station in big letters of whatever color, whether you're talking about Shell, Circle K, whatever, most likely those people who own that company and its parent company and the shareholders are white. Okay? This paper currency, the U.S. Mint that produces the paper currency, the financial bloodline, not only of the United States, but of the entire world, okay, that runs through every bank in this world, okay? That U.S. Mint, that idea, that system was created by white supremacy. It is controlled by white supremacy, okay? You cannot, up until recently, you could not even do business internationally unless you spoke a white language, which is English, and unless you had white American dollars, even if you were a sworn enemy of the United States, like Iran or North Korea. To do international trade, they have to have American dollars. Saddam Hussein had 100,000 American dollars when they captured him in that hole. Same thing with Gaddafi. Okay. Same thing with Iran. When they go to purchase something from another country that's not, their own, even if it's not the United States, they have to use the white American dollars to do it. One of the reasons why so many of them Negro bedwenches were going to places like South Korea under the auspices of being English teachers is because English teacher is the easiest thing. It's the easiest career to get into anywhere in the world, especially along the Pacific Asiatic regions of the world, like China, South Korea. Why? Because the Orientals figured out quicker than most anybody else that for global trade, you're going to need two things. Like I said, you're going to need the American dollar and you're going to need the English language, okay, which is also white, which was obviously inherited from what we now call the United Kingdom, bloody England, okay? So that is what white supremacy is, okay? That's what white power is, okay? It's not some ignorant fucking long-bearded fucking redneck fucking storming the U.S. Capitol building or, talking about Jews will not replace us in Chancellorsville, Virginia. That's not white supremacy. White supremacy is everything in this world, okay, up to and including the majority of who has the fucking nukes, which is currently between China and Russia. They have like over 5,000 nukes. The overriding majority of the people who have power and control of the flow of everything even remotely related to power in this world are white. Okay? This, not to get off topic, but this is why the Queen of fucking England, okay, she booted her own grandson out of the castle when he brought that half-breed mongrel, once again, her name, Meghan Markle, I almost forgot it, to that castle. She said hell no, okay? Because those white families those white aristocrats that have been in power, they didn't just rise to power, like 10, 20 years ago. These are powerhouses that have been in business with the lights on over centuries, okay? A couple of them, their names live down over the centuries. I mean, Guggenheim, Morehouse, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. You going down the line. Okay, you have individual wealthy, powerful white men and white people like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, but then you have these even more powerful white families that have created they've either created these systems or they took over the people who created these systems, which is why, and they recycle that power to their future generation, their future children, so that when they die, that power will always stay in the same place. You understand? That is the true definition. That is the root of white supremacy. Okay? And you could be saying, if you're slow, but I think most of y'all are fast, what does that have to do with Venus and Serena Williams? Well, we know that both of these girls who grew into be women, okay, not attractive women, but women nonetheless, okay, when they went on their winning streak and they started to become noticed and they rose to superstardom to become two of the most well-noticed household names, not just here, but universally, of female athletes in the world, okay? Even though their black father, and one thing I like about Richard Williams, he wasn't, he was like Michael Jordan. There was nothing biracial about him. This was a Negro. He was dark black. He was a nigger, okay? He was a black brother, okay? No matter what you think about him, no matter what I think about him, he was a black man. Even though it was their black father who protected them and had overwatch over them, okay, and got them to where they were. When these girls went into this white dominated, white controlled space known as both junior and professional level tennis, okay, all they saw was white supremacy, pretty much like we see everywhere else in the world, okay? And niggas always talking about staying on code. Nigga, what code? You niggas are always talking about not snitching, yet still 70% of the fucking prison is filled with your dumb asses. I mean, apparently your little no code system ain't worth a shit because it ain't helping you too much. Stop doing dumb shit because white supremacy is designed to make sure your black ass is the first one that gets locked up for the longest. But anyway, that's the subject. We ain't gonna get off on that. But the reality is, and I realize this now after watching this movie, okay? Even these females that we say worship and deify whiteness, there's a reason for this, okay? There's a reason for this, okay? What are the odds that the Williams sisters were going to start dating, fucking, and eventually marrying a black man? I mean, other than Arthur Ashe, I don't know anybody who keeps up with tennis. Feel free to correct me. But how many black men are at, the professional winning level of tennis? I mean, they could have went off. Them two chicks, they built like basketball players, like centers. Maybe they could have married a professional player of like another sport like basketball or football or something. I think both them chicks should have maybe married a football player because both. I would be interested in seeing. I'm not trying to be funny. I just am. I'd be interested in seeing Venus and Serena on as defensive linemen just in one game. I just want to see what's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe not now, but when they were younger, like they're just built like that. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Sorry, not sorry. They big, manly girls. It is what it is. But like, seriously though, like it was not, even though their father was the dominant male in their life up to the point where they became women and rose to superstardom, okay? They went into an environment, they dominated, they were two young black girls that dominated a white dominated sport. But in the end, psychologically, in spite of everything their father taught them, in spite of how much he protected them, they were psychologically dominated. You know how they talk about how if you put a farmer up against an engineer, the farmer will win a few battles against the engineer, but eventually the engineer is going to win. Why? Because he's going to go back, build some type of machine like an army tank, right? Or a robot that's going to come back and defeat the farmer, right? So eventually, even though these two girls were physiologically dominant over white people, okay, psychologically and environmentally, they were suppressed. They were overwhelmed with whiteness. And so, because all they saw in that crawl space, known as the elite class of white supremacy, because all they saw in that space was whiteness, that's all they could really think about past a certain level and past a certain point. I'm not providing excuses for these bitches. I'm just saying, as an older, mature adult now, I understand things that I didn't understand 10 years ago. When I was a lot younger, perhaps a lot angrier, perhaps a lot more extreme in my views. And the other thing is I care a lot less. I got too many things going on. I made myself abundantly clear, okay? All these fools replaying videos of me showing off my doll collection, trying to shame me or embarrass me in front of other people. Again, to embarrass me, okay, the first thing you have to do to shame me, you have to, especially if you're talking about bitches now, okay? And you talking about money or something else, okay? But if you talking about bitches, bro, to shame me for not having one of these things that they call a female human, you would first have to explain to me how I am not benefiting, how not having one of these broads is a detriment to me, how I'm losing at life because I don't have access to one. Okay? What do I need them for? Especially the modern female. And I can see back in our grandparents' generation, they had thoughts back then like Josephine Baker, but still I think a majority of black women, developed from young girls into, somewhat good mothers and wives because there was still a family structure back in those days. Okay, we know that ended with Lyndon Baines Johnson's so-called war on poverty. Okay, but again, what am I missing? There's nothing that I'm missing. Not being with these hoes, nothing. I don't even need them for sex. So you're trying to shame that's like a bum trying to shame me for not wanting to eat out of a trash can. You can't use that stick to hit me with. It's like, who said that? Somebody said, yeah, Malcolm X said, you can't hit me with that stick because I don't feel it. David Carroll said the same thing. It's impossible to embarrass me because number one, I don't put a lot of stock and value in other people's opinions and viewpoints, especially of me. But the other thing is, I don't feel like I'm losing anything by not being with these whores. So try something else. Try something else. If you want to make me cry, try something else, because that's just not going to work. But yeah, man, I mean, what do y'all think about this? Like, I saw the movie. The movie, I'm not going to say the movie was crap, okay? It was mediocre at best, okay? But I was glad that I got to see at least a theatrical version of the upbringing of these two young girls by their black father. Especially seeing how rare that is nowadays is quite sad. But then to reminisce on what David Carroll would always, talk about how Serena wound up getting pregnant, impregnated, and marrying a white dude, and Venus has had multiple white boyfriends. I think one or both of them did date black guys back in the day, but they were like the famous Pookie types, or wannabe Pookie types, like that fraud, I forget his name, Wildin' Out. His name will come to me, Nick Cannon, that goofy ass nigga. But they wound up in the end, at least Serena wound up in the end with a white man and a mixed breed baby, But it's like, I'm not going to say what other choice she had, because she could have married a black man. Some of y'all may think she should have married a black man. It don't matter to me either way, because she ugly, and I don't care nothing about what these hoes do no more anyway. But, okay, I'm not going to say what choice does she have, but I will say that, and this is what I try to explain to black people that talk about black empowerment and all of that. While we're talking about black empowerment, we're still living and surviving and having to apply to and comply with a very white controlled, dominated, and supremacist system. Okay, even if we're thriving in life. Okay, I mean, Bill Cosby was a prime example of that. R. Kelly, although he brought it on himself, I feel he was a prime example of that. Okay, don't matter how high you get as a Negro. Once they ring your bell, once they ring that motherfucking cowbell, once white supremacy decides that you're out of line, it's just a different version of what happened to Emmett Till. You coming off that field and you coming to massa, boy. That's the bottom line, because they control and run every fucking thing. So, why wouldn't black daughters and black sons deify? And keep in mind, that's the way the system is set up. It's set up to make blackness look up to whiteness. Okay, I think the white liberals, they figured out something that the diehard white segregationists could not see. You cannot forever control and dominate a tribe, even a tribe that you feel is inferior or is socioeconomically and militarily inferior to you. Okay? They're going to resist, they're going to fight back, they're going to rise up. Okay? You give them little trinkets of what they want or what they think they want and what they need, and you hold the rest on a little bait string and say, you got to do this, this, and this. You got to think this, this, and this way to get here, here, or there. Okay? Then you can have this. Okay? In a sense, all Americans are kind of going through that with the rat race of chasing dollars, but that's a subject for another video. But when we're talking about just racial supremacy, the power, the ethnic tribalism that is, if you don't really understand what's going on, you'll be one of like these nigger bedwenches that think that things are different now, but in reality they're the same as they were 100 years ago. It's just that the system has changed now to where it's so cosmopolitan that unless you're intelligent like myself or like others, you can't really read in between the lines to see what's really actually going on. Because if you see what's really actually going on, you can clearly see black people are still slaves. Okay? They're slaves in the mind. They're slaves socioeconomically. Okay? And I'm not just talking about these poor ghetto niggas. I'm talking about niggas with degrees. I'm talking about Negroes with good paying jobs. I'm talking about niggas that run businesses. I'm talking about niggas that are famous and powerful. Again, and Equazi just got done making a video that to some extent alluded to this fact about he had mentioned it in a way about white supremacy, that you have these two Williams sisters, okay, that dominated a white sport. All the while, they were being psychologically dominated by white supremacy. And it showed in who they chose to lay down with, procreate with, and marry. Okay? Same thing with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson and his prime, Michael Jackson was second only to Jesus Christ. I think the Guinness Book of World Records named him the single most famous living human being or something like that. At one point he was. There were white people, young white people, that worshipped that dude. They would kill themselves on his command. Yet, this same young boy out of Gary, Indiana, all he could think about was wanting to be white. The same white of white folks that worshipped him. But he worshipped them more, because look what he did to himself. So anyway, guys, I hope I explained what I was trying to imbue in this video as best as I could. I believe, in conclusion, that the Williams sisters, like a lot of Negroes nowadays, including some of y'all that listen to me, are victims of a irreversible toxin that has taken, unfortunately, a permanent effect, at least in our lifetime, on the psyche of black people, to where we're not dealing with a social construct, we're dealing with a social reconstruct. They talk about the Reconstruction era. Well, actually, there were two Reconstruction eras. There was a Reconstruction era right after slavery, and then there was the Reconstruction era during the so-called Civil Rights Movement, okay, where the white liberals actually took over the idea of white dominance, control, and supremacy from the crackers down south and taught them, whether they liked it or not, how to do it. No, you don't keep black people or people that don't look like you out of everything. You don't keep them blocked and banned out of everything. No. You bring them in to everything, okay? And then bait them by making them think that they are being included in your little game, in your system. But at the same time that you're making them manager, that you're even allowing them occasionally to hold positions of political power up to and including President of the United States or CEO of a company, at the end of the day, you hold all the high cards, okay? You're the one who controls the courts. You're the one who controls the majority of the government, the military, the banks, right? Everything that really truly counts, you are at the top of it. That's what true white supremacy is. And that's why the Williams sisters and a lot of y'all are nigga bedwenches and nigga bedbucks, whether you realize it or not. It is what it is. You know, how Negroes can fix their mouth to complain about the very white supremacy that they help endorse by mixing with these people is just, it's indicative of how messed up the black race is. And so, to what David Carroll said before he passed, rest his soul, in our lifetime, I don't know about our children's lifetime, but in our lifetime, we're not coming out of this. The only thing we can hope to do is sow the seed that maybe, just maybe, future generations can wake up and come out of this. These niggas of like my generation and every generation after that are too far fucking gone. They're just too far gone. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later, guys.